So I was really tired and I skipped coffee, and I always need coffee. And as I blew through the first light, it was yellow. The second one I looked up was red, but I didn't understand why a car was coming so fast. It was almost like they anticipated the light changing, and we both hit each other at about 60 miles an hour. Immediately I knew something was wrong with my body because I was slumped over to one side and I couldn't move. The closest thing I could say to a prayer was, God help me. Control is taken out of your hands in a moment like that. We spend so much of our time trying to control life, and in that moment I knew it was over. What happened next, it was out of my control. I also felt the energy of everyone I'd ever known and wanted to tell everyone basically, I love you, be better, be happy, enjoy your life. I mean, that's the message of the soul, is not anything negative. It's just, hey, go love your life. And you know, the Hubble telescope images, there's a couple of them that I swear are very similar to what I saw. So the pink expanse of stars, light, I was floating somewhere I didn't recognize, but I knew I was in the stars. I also felt this greater intelligence coming toward me in the form of light. And almost like the telepathy from the angel's eyes, it came towards me and told me different messages, like love is all that matters, it's all that you take with you when you leave this place, be like a little child, remind them to go to nature. All of these seem like crystallized, simple messages, but there were about 5 or 6 messages like that, and they just were implanted deep within me, and I knew I would never forget them, that was just meant to be something I took back. Then I was shown a portion of my life, and I saw some of childhood where I played in nature, moments where I had faith, and these moments were good. Like the light seemed to say, hey, your faith was beautiful, your love for animals was beautiful, just remember the good and the good parts of life. And the things that were not good melted away, almost like, you know how shadow just falls away? It was almost like, well, that's not what I'm taking with me, almost as if that message, love is all that we take with us. We don't hold on to the negative in this place of light. I saw the life review, some places where I could be better. And I was a little bit cliquish and judgmental. I was proud of myself for getting into UT, and I kind of looked down on people who didn't go to college. So at different jobs where I worked, I looked at people who work full-time as wait staff, and I wasn't rude to them, but I didn't give them room to get to know me. And I saw how kind they were, and I saw that they went home, this one couple, and they prayed about me. And I almost want to cry when I think about it, because they saw that I was this depressed person and they cared. And I didn't even give them the time of day because I didn't like what they wore. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. So in that moment, I thought I can do better. I can be a better person. That I'm not leaving room for the beauty of who people are. That was the main focus of how I was going to change, as if Creator Source wanted me to look at the beauty in people and their heart. It's almost like our soul knows how to be, but we forget in our culture, and we forget based on trying to feel special or trying to feel good about ourselves. As I finished that life review, I ended up in this place. It was full of greenery and beautiful grass. There was no death. Some people might call it heaven. To me, it looked like a consciousness that I was participating with, that my grandfather appeared, and he wanted to recreate something from my childhood because he knew I liked riding the back of his pickup truck. My grandfather, he looked different. He looked young and handsome, and he glowed almost like the angels with this light. There was no death in him. I had seen him die. I was the last person he saw, and he had leukemia and was in his 70s and did not look the way he looked there. He was the only person who had a connection to me, who had passed. And so we spent time together. And then at some point he said, do you want to continue on? And even though I was in the back of this pickup truck driving very slowly through this beautiful green grass, I looked up and I knew what he meant, that there was more to this experience and that God was on the other side of this. So I just shot out of the pickup truck, and I was this soul just flying towards God. I just felt great. I felt like every bit of insecurity floated away. I just felt so loved. I felt like this is the greatest place I've ever experienced. Why does anyone ever leave it? I want to get closer to this God source, this vibration, this unconditional love. I just felt safe and held in love. Then at some point, there was this energy wall that kind of stopped me and I couldn't go any farther. And it vibrated through me and said, look down. And I looked down and there was this river and there were many people who were walking on it. Some were covered in shadows, some had light. And I saw that if they had light, they were connected to God. From that place, it just looked like fear or love, that there was only a choice between fear or love. And I thought, oh, that's simple. I just go back and tell some people not to fear things, and to love more. And I was like, okay, I can do that. But God was like, no, you're going to be a teacher and you're going to do that. And I was like, well, I can't do that because that's not what I want to do. I want to make money. I grew up extremely poor, and so I had planned to go to law school at UT, and UT has a great law school, and I had friends who were in the law school, and I thought I'd travel, see Europe, do some fun things, and then eventually I'd already taken the LSAT, and I'd, prepared for law school, and I thought, just given my skill set with writing, I was like, okay, I can do this. I can be a lawyer, and the idea of teaching or nursing, those were like traditional careers for women, and I considered myself somewhat of a feminist, so I was like, I don't want to do something traditional and low paying. No, thank you. This is not for me. And so God was like, no, you're really going to be a teacher. And that was it. That's the last thing I heard in the presence of God. I joke that, I wanted to argue more, and there were thoughts that I was having, but it was as if God made me into this ball of energy, and I was thrown back through darkness towards my body and ended up in the room where they give you ice chips and ask you to tell your name. And I still was holding on to that experience. My first thoughts, even coming out of anesthesia, where I just had one of those things they call near-death experiences because I'd read about it. And I was like, okay, I had one of those. And then my energy didn't feel fully in my body. I felt like I was a part of the room, and the nurse was asking me what my name was. And I literally didn't feel like me yet. I said, well, her name is Trisha. And she said, no, your name. And I was like, oh, my name. And then I felt a little sad, actually, to come back to the specificness of being me, because I don't know how to describe it, but you're one with everything, but you're also an individual in that space. And so to come back to the body holds trauma, the body holds memory, the body will die here, but in that space, you're eternal and you're free, and it's so beautiful. And so there was already a dislike of being in the body. I felt like I'd been in this beautiful, light-filled, expansive place, and it felt very limiting to come into the body. It felt as if I was being forced back into the body, that it wasn't a choice, because if I had my way, I would have stayed there. And so this was definitely not my choice. I was sent back and told I had a particular mission. And I'm happy for the mission now, but in that moment, I was not happy. I was somewhat closed off before my near-death experience. The only way I opened up is if I had a few drinks or, was hanging out with friends, listening to music. I didn't really offer a lot of myself. I wasn't this boundaryless, full of love person. In some ways, I kept myself a lot safer because I distrusted people. I had a lot of barriers. I guess because of my childhood, I kept strong boundaries with people. But after my near-death experience, I loved everyone. Like, I walked down the street, I was concerned about everyone. I just saw the light in every single human being. I was overflowing with love. I had this telepathy where I understood what people were thinking and feeling. I loved animals. I was so happy that first year. I can't even describe it. Like the happiness and the freedom of being able to walk, of being able to explore this world, and knowing that there is energy that comes from trees, that everything is conscious, that everything is beautiful. That just wasn't in my awareness. The only thing that was in my awareness before was me, just my thoughts, my head. And a lot of those thoughts weren't very good thoughts. And so that was another thing that I realized, all those negative thoughts that I had brought me down, and I didn't necessarily have to think them. And that became a lifelong process of working with my own thinking and realizing what thoughts are my own, what thoughts are not, and how to live a happier life. I also went right back to school and got my teaching certification. So I went ahead and graduated and went and taught immediately. And the minute I was in the classroom, it was magical. Like, I thought, what do I do? What am I going to tell these students? So I just told them the truth. I was like, I don't want to be a teacher. I know you don't want to be here. I don't either. I was like, but I was told to come here, and here's my story. And they were, like mouths open, eyes wide. And they were like, I have a question, and there was just a lot of communication and a lot of connection from the beginning. I find that people love these stories. It makes them think about what comes next, or the magical elements of life, or it puts them in touch with their own soul journey. I watched how different students wanted to become psychologists, or they told me their goals because they trusted me on some level. And I was they were my first students, and this was the first class. And there was so much magic, so much hilarity, so much silliness. It was truly fun, but also life-changing. It's so easy on the other side. There's just love and there's just fear. But over here, sometimes people attack you because of fear. Sometimes people are manipulative because of fear, that they don't have enough or they need something from you. And it is devastating, to people. But that fear, I see really as just a block to the light of God. So that can be depression, that can be anything that blocks you from God. And I think nature is a way for many people to heal. I think that's a way that many people could overcome a lot of things is isolation, time in nature, thinking about your life, rethinking what you want to do, how you want to do it differently, and reconnecting with some sort of light. Any moment your soul wakes up on this journey and goes, I'm doing something good, I have a dream, I have a gift, or I have something to share or something to help people with. Anytime you wake up and you're connected to something greater than yourself, then you're winning. And I think we can all win, at different times in our lives. Maybe there's struggles, but we can still get to a point where we're giving to society, where we're really enjoying life, where we have a lot of joy in our life. And we know that to the best of our ability, we're giving love to the world. I mean, I know we all get frustrated in traffic and technology and all kind of things. I'm not immune to it. I certainly have moments in life where I'm terribly frustrated, but shifting back into, okay, how do I enjoy this more? How do I remember that my energy affects other people, and how do I not affect them in negative ways? And I hope that on a quantum level and on this oneness level, that more and more people are waking up to our connectedness. Because if we realize that we're all connected and that we're all one, we wouldn't want anyone to suffer, that we would really make suffering in society the main focus. How do we ease suffering? How do we ease suffering in children's life and the elderly and people without insurance and people, who can't find a job, people who are disabled? How do we just across the board help people live better lives? I think a lot of near-death experiences are pointing towards, hey, there's a greater love on the other side that can help us live better lives. Let's do it.